In this video, I want to talk about using conditional formatting. Generally, when we have text, or a cell for that matter, we can format that cell. So for instance, I can take the text in row 1, and I can highlight that, and I can change the background color. I can give it a fill. I can change the actual color of the text. I can make it bold, I can italicize it, all sorts of different things. All those two colors don't quite go well together. We'll just do something like that. So this is what we can refer to as a static formatting. Anything you can do, change the font, that kind of stuff to a cell or a group of cells, um, is static. It doesn't change. But what we can do is use what's referred to as conditional formatting. And what this does, it becomes dynamic. When I refer to something dynamic, it changes automatically. When we are in Excel, anytime we change a number that is used in a formula or a function, things are updated automatically. So that's what we refer to when we talk about something being dynamic. So with conditional formatting, it's really two parts. We can actually do some different formatting depending on certain criteria. And then the second part is then we can go change that and see how the conditional formatting changes. So what we have here is a old spreadsheet, bunch of medical organizations. We have them by state. P is for pharmacy, L is for laboratory, and H is for hospital, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and the rep, how much is owed, and what their sales is. So if I want to affect and I want to do conditional formatting on the year-to-date sales, and I will just simply select the year-to-date sales. And so there we go. I don't know why it went away. So when you apply conditional formatting, you have to select the cells that you want to apply it to. You don't have to select everything, but if you want it to be applied to everything, then you have to do that. The conditional formatting is under the Home tab and under conditional formatting. If I just click down on conditional formatting, there's some options here you can use. Probably the most of what folks will use is either highlight cell rules. You can see that we have greater than or less than and equal to. We can also do top and bottom. So we could do the top 10 items, the top 10%, the bottom 10, anything above average or below average. Now they start out with the top and bottom 10 items, 10%. Once you're in there, you can change it. Let's say I only want to do the top 5. So we're going to highlight these, and let's do the top, let's say 10 items, and we're going to change this just to 5. And you'll notice the little preview there is as I change these, as I start adding increasing numbers, you'll see that you get more highlighted. And if I go down and change that to 5, I just want to have the top 5. And so really top numbers, if we're dealing with something like sales, we don't want it to be red. There are some pre-designed formatting. So if you click this down arrow next to light red fill, that's just the default. I can go yellow and I can go green, and there's some other options. But hey, what if I don't find the one I like? Well, then you can go down to custom format. And this will just bring up the normal format cells. You can't change the font, but we could make it bold, for instance. And maybe we want a fill to be something other than green. Let's say we want it to be this purple. And I'm going to go to font, and I'm going to change the color of the font to, let's just say, white. So you can change the font style. You can change its color. I think you can also change the underline. Yeah, you can change the underline. You can't change the size, and you can't change the actual font. So we'll just click OK. And then we'll click OK again. So you can see the top five sales. So I can then go and add a second one. So I can go over here and I can do top and bottom, and let's say we'll do bottom 10 items, and this time we'll just choose the bottom 2. And you can see that it does default to the red. Again, as we did before, we could go to custom format, and then maybe the fill. Maybe it's not as bad. We'll just choose a yellow. And then click OK. So you could have as many conditional formats as you want. If I come back here and I highlight those, if I go to conditional formatting, I can go down to the very bottom where it says Manage Rules. And basically what happened is it created these rules. The first rule you create is on the bottom. The second rule is on top of that. The third rule, the fourth rule. So they kind of like go in kind of reverse order. That becomes very important. We'll talk about that in a second video. So let's say that, oh, this dark blue is just, I don't like it. So all you have to do is click on it, and I can edit the rule. And notice I could change this. Let's say I only want the top 3. And I don't like the dark blue, let's say, so I can go Format. So again, it brings us into that same format cells. So let's change it to, let's say, a light blue. And probably you're going to want to change the font back to black. We'll just tell it automatic. And then we'll click OK. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. And then you can click OK again. And then click OK again. And you can see that it will actually change that. And notice I changed it from top 5 to top 3. Now let's say that I don't want any of these conditional formats. I just want to start from scratch. I don't like what I did. You can go back up to conditional formatting. You can go clear rules, and there are a couple of options. The 2 that we'll look at is clear rules from selected cells, and then clear rules from the entire sheet. We're not going to do either of these right now, but if you wanted to clear these that you had created for column G and you wanted to start from scratch, you could from the selected. The entire sheet, any conditional formatting that's on this worksheet would then be cleared. So we're just going to back out of that. If we go to, let's say, balance ode, I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to do conditional formatting, and I'm going to do highlight cells, and I want to find those that are greater than, and it just kind of like picks an arbitrary number here. So I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to say anything greater than 30,000. Make sure I get enough zeros, and we'll leave it with the coloring that it said. So we'll click OK. And then let's say we go back, and I'm going to do highlight rules. We're going to do greater than, and this time let's do greater than 3,000. Let's see what that gives us. Now notice, well, let's change this color. We'll just go to yellow, and I'm going to click OK. And you'll notice the first rule I created was greater than 30,000. The second rule was greater than 2,000, and you can see that they overlapped. The last rule that we created will be the first rule that gets applied. So you see that everything is greater than, or everything greater than 3,000, you'll see is highlighted yellow. So what I can do is go to conditional formatting, manage rules, and you'll notice that the first one we created is in the bottom of the list. So that's the first one in, the last one to be applied. So what I can do is I can move that up. So what happened is when Excel looked at doing the conditional formatting, it said cell value greater than 3,000. Oh, okay, then that's everything. It never went to the second one. So I'm going to click the second one, and right here is a little arrow. I'm going to click that one up, and then I'm going to click OK. Now notice the first one is only going to make those greater than 30,000 red. So now, and then those that are not, then it'll go on to the next one. If there's 4 of these, it'll go through all 4 of these. And we'll just click OK. And so now you can see that we have some yellow and we have some red. And you can again go back and make any changes that you might have wanted to do, and clearing them, deleting them, whatever you want to do. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of working with some of the conditional formatting. So let's go to the Art Museum. And what we're going to do, this one's actually pretty long. You can see we scroll down. So I'm going to scroll back to the top, and I'm going to, again, we can just use our Control Shift down arrow. If you're using a Mac, the Control is actually the Command key. And we're going to do some conditional formatting here, but this time we're going to do data bars. And what this is going to do is it's going to actually kind of like create a little graph in the actual cell. itself. So you have some solid fills and you have some gradients, really what you want to use. I'm going to choose the green, and you can see those data fills. I'll make this a little bit wider, and it kind of like gives a kind of a graph of what those all look like. And the reason these are all small is this is really large. So I'm going to change this to 11,000. And then you'll see in a moment that all the cells change. And I might have something else that's kind of large. Yeah, let's change the 40,000 to 2,500. So you can see how these will change. They're dynamic. Any number that we have here, I'm just going to bring these down a little bit better. There we go. And you can see here, we'll do 5,200. These are dynamic. So anytime we make a change to any of our conditional formatting, it will change the actual formatting. Or excuse me, anytime we change any values in a cell, then anything being applied by conditional formatting will, in essence, be updated. So I just changed some of these smaller ones so that we didn't have all the very small ones around here. Now you can also apply conditional formatting. Here we did text, and in the medical one we did the same thing. We were just using numbers, not text. But we can actually do text. I'm going to do here, I'm going to click on category. I'm going to do Control-Shift down arrow, and I can go to conditional formatting, and I can go to highlight cells, and I can go equal to. And then what I want to do is I want to identify anything with painting. And I'm going to choose a different color, just a different fill color. We'll do a light blue. And we'll click OK. And we'll click OK again. And you can have multiples. So maybe you'll notice there are some for sculpture. So we'll do one more here. Highlight cell rules, equal to, and we'll have sculpture. It is important to spell it right, so let me just make sure I'm getting, there we go. And we'll give those maybe a little more eye-appealing color. Let's do kind of a light, not that one, we'll do an orange. And so you can go through and make your changes and have as many as you want. Again, the spelling is correct, or is important. So if I came over here and I got rid of the E in sculpture, it's all or none. So if you haven't spelled things consistently or abbreviated consistently, then it may or may not, the conditional formatting may or may not apply. Upper and lowercase doesn't matter. So that's just some working basic with conditional formatting. One last thing I'll show you is by going to conditional formatting and down here to clear rules, I'm going to clear the entire sheet. And what it will do is the conditional formatting that we create for both of these columns will now be gone. And I don't think I can undo it. Oh, actually, I can undo it. So that's some things in Excel you cannot undo. Conditional formatting you can. So that just gives you a basic understanding of working with conditional formatting.